Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, the Irrelevant Nerd, and today I'm going to be reviewing the last 3 episodes of the final season of The Boys. Well, the finale is officially here. I've had a few days to kind of ruminate and think on it, and I'm ready to talk about it. I'm going to just kind of touch briefly on episodes 6 and 7, but most of my focus is going to be mostly on the finale and just kind of my thoughts on the series and season as a whole. And I'm just going to do spoiler warnings from here on out because there is a lot I'm going to reference and just a lot to get to. So here we go. I do think these final 3 episodes did pick up a bit in quality from episodes 4 and 5. Like, that's definitely where the dip of the season is. It felt like these episodes actually started to push the overall plot forward again after spinning its wheels for a couple episodes. And while I do appreciate that, it was not always done in satisfying ways. Like in episode 6, the Deep kills Black Noir for causing like an oil pipeline, which I actually believe they say is like the biggest oil pipeline disaster in history, but he ends up killing Black Noir to retaliate for this by choking Black Noir out with like headphone wires in their podcast studio, and it just feels immensely underwhelming and maybe, I don't know, just a little unbelievable that Noir isn't able to just rip that wire easily. And like ultimately, this second Black Noir is just another character who feels kind of pointless. I thought when they brought him back after Homelander killed the original Black Noir that they might be doing like the twist from the comic books, but no, it's just a character that exists to, I guess, pointlessly fill up screen time, which, I mean, it is the case for a lot of characters this season, whether it's Black Noir 2, Sage, Firecracker, Father, and even like Soldier Boy and Ryan to a certain extent all feel like they're just padding out the runtime, even though they're supposed to be some of the major characters of this season. And I don't know, Sage defecting to the boys also feels very pointless to me. Almost none of her ideas work out throughout her entire time on the show. Like, things will appear to go wrong and she'll be like, no, this was actually the plan the whole time, but it never seems that way. And Soldier Boy, you know, and when he ends up just giving the V1 to Homelander, it just feels wildly inconsistent from what we've seen from Soldier Boy literally this entire season. And so even though a lot happens in episode 6, it all feels kind of like a one of those things that happens and you just shrug your shoulders and you go, okay, but it just, I don't know, it was all done in so many unsatisfying ways. And episode 7, I would say, is better. I liked a lot of the boys sneaking around and helping people escape the Homelander church. Like, that did feel true to like the main spirit of the show, kind of more what season 1 and season 2 a little bit felt like. I do think that Homelander choking out Soldier Boy was kind of silly. I think it would have made more sense for like Homelander to lose his temper and have like an epic fight with Soldier Boy where maybe Homelander gets overly angry and carried away and ends up accidentally killing his father, which would just break him down further mentally and would open up a lot of great moments for Homelander to be like, hey, why did you make me do this? And just more of him constantly pushing the blame off on other people. I know they're trying to set up this spinoff for Soldier Boy to be in, but I just think that would have made, I don't know, a lot more sense. And then in the same episode, we also have it revealed that, I guess, kind of behind the scenes of the season, Butcher and Frenchie have been trying to figure out a way to emulate Soldier Boy's powers because, he wasn't born with them. He got them in Russia, and they want to figure out how to give his blast that depowers the soups to Kimiko, which I actually don't hate that as an idea, but it just kind of feels very rushed and out of nowhere. And to me, it's something that should have been worked on as like a backup plan, maybe the whole time, or maybe the primary plan, and the virus should have been the backup plan. So that, when Homelander gets the V1, instead of it immediately making the virus feel pointless, where you're like, well, they always kind of had this contingency plan. It's like in their mind, they always knew that it might not work. So I don't know. It just, I guess, would feel less stupid in my mind if they did it that way. If, they're like, okay, well, just in case this doesn't work, we're going to be working with Kimiko. And they've been clearly thinking about it the whole season. And then they try to rush and do it at the end where they're almost out of time. It just feels silly and convenient for the sake of how they wanted the story to go, I guess. I think the plots would have blended a lot better had they just been going side by side. And Frenchie's death, I thought was handled well, and I was sad to see the character die. I've always really loved Frenchie, and the actress who plays Kimiko, I thought did a great job. Her reaction was pretty heartbreaking, and I really did feel for her in that moment. Of course, after Frenchie's death, that leads us into the finale, which I do see some people online are saying it's as bad as the Game of Thrones series finale, which is simply just not true. Like, it's not a great finale. It for sure has issues, but it's not terrible. It's just average and underwhelming, but people are definitely overblowing it online, or they're just forgetting how bad the Game of Thrones series finale really was. But at the beginning of the episode, it turns out the depowering ray works for Kimiko and ends up hitting Sage with it, and Sage just leaves and kind of fades into nothing, which, I guess that fits her character arc. And the boys head to the White House for our final showdown. And them infiltrating the White House is actually a pretty fun scene. And I do like that I do like that Ashley finally turns to their side and helps them get in. And I don't know, O-Father's death kind of felt meh, but the way that it happens with his head exploding and kind of how sudden it was did make me laugh. And so, I don't know, one more shocking kill like that in the boys, I guess, was very just fitting. I really, really dislike that Starlight and Deep's fight just gets, set off to the side. It's its own separate thing. And I do like that she is ultimately the one that beats him, but I don't like that it is so detached from the main fight and the main issue. And I feel like this finale does that a lot, where I enjoy one aspect of what they do, but there's always a but. I liked this, but. And I would say the fight with Homelander was a perfect example. I really like how the fight ends. Seeing Homelander be just a pitiful, scared little bitch was so satisfying, and I think that's such a perfect punishment and then end for the character in that moment. I do see some people saying they should have left him depowered and sent him out in the world to be a loser, but then it's always, even if it's not V1, what happens if he ever figures out a way to get Compound V again? Then he's just, we're back to where we started. So I think that his death in this moment is perfect, and being scared while he is dying is perfect. And I love that Butcher was the character to deliver the final blow. That's what it's been setting up, and I do like the crowbar through the head. It's very graphic, very fitting to the show. But like the actual fight itself was very underwhelming and felt way too easy. Like it was mostly just Kimiko and Butcher against Homelander, with Ryan kind of joining at the end, but it almost felt like just the three of them could beat Homelander by themselves, even if he wasn't depowered. Like, while Kimiko was not getting her chest ray to work, she's sitting there trying, Homelander couldn't even escape when Kimiko is basically just standing there doing nothing. I think the fight in Herogasm between Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey versus Homelander was a much more tense and well done fight. And if you're going to do it small scale, I'm fine with that, because they showed that they can do that. But it was small scale, but it didn't feel that tense. And with just them fighting Homelander so easily, it's just Homelander is supposed to be more powerful than that. Like, the final fight really, in my mind, should have been everyone we have left against Homelander. Butcher, Kimiko, Starlight after she's done with the Deep. You have Ryan from the beginning, and then like Mother's Milk and Huey in some type of support roles where they're like throwing in grenades or having like those sound speakers that the soups are sensitive to in earlier seasons and in the episode and in Gen V, and maybe even have a few of the Gen V characters like Marie or Jordan Lee, and that could explain why maybe Homelander is like unable to escape, because it seems wild that he can't, because in certain points of the show he moves in the blink of an eye, and then in this it seems like it takes him a second to get up and go when he's trying to fly away, and then like Butcher is able to come back and sort of just hold him there. But if you have Marie there and she's like messing with her blood, that would be a perfect explanation of why he's slow. And then you have like those 8 characters or whatever against him, and I think that would have been a much better way to do it. And I just thought in that moment when Kimiko is unable to get the blast to work and she's trying her best, and she sees Frenchie as like a vision or whatever, I thought that was so cheesy and did not fit with the tone of the show at all. She should have rage blasted Homelander, and then that could have been the thing that enables her to like move on and let go. If they wanted to have her character ultimately wind up in the same place, like she could still get there by letting go of that rage now that she got her revenge and catharsis. It just felt, compared to the rest of the show, it just felt very aw shucksy, and I did not like that moment at all. And I don't know, after the fight, I think that Butcher being rejected was very fitting. Ryan is very justified in his assessment that like while Homelander needed to die and Butcher did a good thing, Butcher is not necessarily a good person. And with that rejection and discovering that terror, like his dog is now dead, I guess maybe it's just a realization that he has nothing left now that he's gotten revenge. I think that drives him to move forward with the remainder of his plan, which was to release the soup virus and just kill every soup on the planet, with the logic of eventually one of them is going to become another Homelander, which I think there is something kind of fitting in that logic, and they could have maybe explored that a little more. And I do like that it is ultimately Huey who stops and kills him, because that makes sense to me. And during their fight, I like seeing how brutal Butcher could be just like one last time. That was a nice touch. But again, I just think it does have an unsatisfying feeling, because like Butcher starts to release his finger off the trigger and maybe stop with releasing the virus, and then that's when Huey shoots him. Like, why have him back the finger off? Like, the past 2 seasons have been pretty clear, showing how brutal and evil Butcher can be and how much he is just descending more towards that evil side. Just commit to that and make his death like one of those genuinely needs to happen type of moments. And it just felt very odd to make him hesitate like that. And I like that Butcher died, but I guess I dislike how much of the team survives and got a happy ending. Like, in my mind, Butcher, Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM, they all should have died. And then instead of Ryan going with MM's family, he could have gone with Huey and Starlight and been a family with their baby, which I think that's what Butcher probably would have wanted anyways, with all the constant references to Huey being like his brother, Lenny. Like, he, in a way, even though he fucked him up at the end, he saw Huey as family. And so why would Brian not go with him? And so, like I said, there was actually a lot that I enjoyed. Just, there are too many buts and things that very easily in my mind could have been so much better and would not have required like a much crazier budget or much longer runtime. Just clean up a little bit and you could have just had a much, much stronger finale. For me, I would give the finale a 7.5 out. Well, I'm going to go 7.3 out of 10. I would give season 5 a 7 out of 10 overall. And again, I don't think it was bad. I just think it was an underwhelming and disappointing ways to end one of like my favorite shows of the past 10 years. I've absolutely enjoyed this universe, and I thought there was a lot of promise that was set up near the end of last season, and I don't know what happened. And I might end up checking out the spin-offs, but I feel a little jaded towards them because you can tell so much of the runtime this season was to set up those spin-offs, and I don't really appreciate that. And even if I do watch them, I will be approaching them with a healthy amount of skepticism. But I will rewatch The Boys at some point, and I think maybe without the anticipation, I'll find the final season maybe less grating and less disappointing. But, we'll see. And of course, these are just my thoughts. As always, I would love to see what you thought in the comments down below. Like, what did you think of the finale and the final season as a whole? What would you have changed? Am I being too harsh? Am I being too generous with my 7.3 rating? That feels fair to me. Like I said, it's not great. I don't think it's terrible. It's all acted well. It's shot well. It's disappointing, and that's where I fall. But of course, please let me know. I'd love to see those comments down below. I do have some more videos that I'm working on that I'll have out for you very soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one.